Hello everyone! This hour on Verbling, the next in my great short stories series. This class is going to be an unusual short story, one that you might not expect. We're going to do a humorous short story by the short story writer and famed macabre horror story writer Edgar Allan Poe. But we're going to do a funny story, one that you might not expect from him. In fact, he was not only a writer, he was a critic and a bit of a theorist as well. He was quite diverse. So these things he's not so well known for. So I thought it would be interesting to look at something that he did that's quite different. And I think even over 100 years later, the story is still reasonably funny. Anyway, worth reading. So we're going to do that in just a minute. Classic short story by Edgar Allan Poe called Xing a Paragraph. All that and more coming up. Let me do a quick introduction and then we'll get started. So, my name's Jon-Eric. I'm your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, coming at you from Lisbon, Portugal today to bring you this class. By the way, if you click on that link in the Verbling chat window, you can see my profile page. Click follow, and there you'll get notifications of all my upcoming classes. When you do that, you'll see what's going on, and you can also schedule a private tutoring class with me where I will custom tailor a learning plan to help get you to your goals as soon as possible. Just send me a message first so that I can find time for you in my schedule, because I'm actually fully booked these days. I'm quite busy. Okay? Send me a message and I'll help you out. All right, so let's get started. What we're going to do here is, let's give me a second to give you the link, and I'll put it on the screen and we will get started. Hang on just a second, and I'll give you the link. Okay, so here we go. I want you to, if you want to see this up close, you can click on this link that you see in the chat window. All right, and let me say a quick hello to Mr. You said it was Abdul, right? Abdul, not proxy. Abdul.
Yeah,
right?
Abdul. Yeah,
Abdul.
right.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, let me get this on the screen for you to see. One moment. And let me close that. All right. So, have you ever read anything by this author, Edgar Allan Poe, or do you know his work, Abdul?
Can you repeat, please?
Have you read anything by Edgar Allan Poe, the writer? Do you know the name, Edgar Allan Poe? Have you heard that before?
No.
Okay, very good. So let's find out a little bit about him first. Before we read, let's see what he looks like and see if I can remind you of some things that he's written you might know. So I'm going to do just a quick image search. See if you recognize the face. Look, isn't he pretty? Look at him. Let's get a close up.
Yeah, sure.
There he is. This is a famous picture. Look familiar or not?
Yeah, I sure. This is mine.
Ah. All right. And you'll notice up there, there's another picture. Right when I wrote his name, something else came up, which is the Raven. Because he's famous for a poem called The Raven. He's famous for dark, eerie, romantic stories and poems. So you might know him from that. Yeah. And let's do a little warm-up before we begin here. So, before we begin, Well, I want to just give a little bit of background, and then I'm going to ask you to think about a few things before we actually read. So the first thing I want to say is a quick biography, so you know who you're reading. Okay, so
Okay.
Poe, who died really young, well, pretty young. He was only about 40 years old when he died. Uh, he was born in the 19th century, and he died in 1849. So he was not a 20th century writer. He was a 19th century writer. He was
In
American.
Boston.
Uh, was it Boston? Yeah.
Yeah, I was born from Boston. In
Uh,
Boston.
I didn't remember if it was Boston. I thought it was Baltimore. Is it Boston?
Boston, yeah.
Because okay. So you know something about him.
It's just something. Nothing.
Okay, well, here's my statement to give a little bit of background. This is what most people know about him. He's an American writer. He
Yeah.
had a difficult life. His wife died, and it really affected him very badly. A lot of personal tragedy. I think he had a gambling problem. He had an alcohol problem. Um, but he was pretty prolific as a writer. He was one of the first writers to use the short story as a format, and he wrote something called the philosophy of composition, where he tried to describe how you should write a short story. It became a really important text, particularly in France, where the symbolist writers, the modernist writers, used that as kind of a way to approach writing in a more creative way. So he's quite influential. And something else that's interesting is that Sherlock Holmes could not have been invented without Edgar Allan Poe. He was famous also for inventing the modern detective story. So this is kind of the general background that people think about when they think about him. What else do I want to say? I think that's about it. Do I want to say anything else? Okay, and that's it. That's it. Um, to read the story, we got to think about the time period. So at the very top on warm up, I've got two questions for you to think about. The first question: can you explain how newspaper articles were set in print 100 years ago? How did they print newspapers in the 1800s? What would you say about that? Because if that isn't clear, it's going to be hard to understand the story. So, how did they used to print newspapers, Abdul?
How do you use a print newspaper in?
Yeah. Nowadays, we can use computers, we can use a
Yeah,
printer.
yeah,
It's what did
yeah.
they used to do? Do you know?
Thinking. I think just in the 16th century, I think the radio.
In the 16th century, what? One more time?
Do you use the radio?
Are you saying
Radio.
radio? Sorry, are you saying
Radio.
radio?
Yeah, I think so.
In the wait, we're talking about the 1800s here. In the 1800s. Look, because remember, this writer, he died in 1849.
Oh,
That's when he died. So there was no radio back then.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I
like,
think just the old books and the old papers
mhm,
of the leather, the paper of leather.
mhm. In the 1800s, well, they had paper. They didn't have to use leather. They had paper for sure.
They
But
have
my, but,
papers.
yeah, yeah. But my question is,
Mhm.
how did they print the newspaper? Because that's a very important part of the story. How did they print a newspaper in the 1800s? There's one
Well,
important detail.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know how. I think I don't know really. I don't know.
Okay, so let me give you one idea.
Okay.
They had something called movable type. Movable type, like this. And
Movable type.
that's
Okay.
right. And they had to typeset the paper. Typeset. And what that means is, you know how nowadays we have a printer and there's like a little laser and it can direct where the ink goes. But back then, they had to move every single letter to a row and then they had to stamp the paper. So they had to move each letter in place. And think about how many words do you think are on one page of a newspaper? I mean, if you look at the New York Times, how many words do you think are on a newspaper? What would you say?
Words. I think more than 100.
Yeah,
100.
yeah. Maybe hundreds of words on each page.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe even 1,000 words. So the point is, uh, imagine having to move every single letter to create every single word for the entire newspaper. That seems like an exhausting thing to do. So we have to understand first that that's how newspapers were printed, by moving every letter in place. If we don't understand that, the story is going to be very hard to understand. Okay?
Use
What
this
is,
machine. I think. Can you look at in my screen?
yeah, not that machine. That's a
This machine.
typewriter. Before the typewriter, even before that. In fact, maybe I can show you a picture. Do you have, oh yeah, that's it. Look, that's it. That's it. The
Yeah. That's
typeset. Yeah, that's it. So they have to move every letter in place. And if it's for a word like and or but, then they already have that as a complete word. But for new words, they had to actually move the letters. So it took a long time to print a newspaper. Next question. What modern invention what modern inventions and technical improvements made this system old-fashioned? So, Abdul, why do we not use movable type today? What do we use today instead?
because today we have developer technology, and we have media, and we have the internet.
That's true. And if we want to print a newspaper, what do we do today that we did do then? We don't use movable type. What do we use
No,
today?
no. We use just a printer.
Just a printer. Exactly. Very good. So keep that in mind, because the joke of the story, the comedy, is all about how movable type.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll see. If we don't understand that, it won't make sense. Okay. By the way, Abdul, where are you from?
I'm from Morocco.
From Morocco. Whereabouts in Morocco?
Morocco, it's in Africa,
No,
in
no,
the
no, no,
north
no,
of
no, no, no.
Africa.
I know where Morocco is. I've been there. I'm saying, where in Morocco are you from? Are you from?
I'm from
Are you from?
Tangier, in the north of Morocco.
Oh, I've been to Tangier. Oh, very
Yeah,
good, very good.
yeah.
The last time I was there was in the year 2000. I was there in New Year's in Tangier.
Tangier. I'm a programmer supervisor.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I stayed in a little, like, what do you call it? A little inn, a little when I was in Tangier, I stayed in a place in La Petite Souk. Uh, I don't remember the name of the street. It's been a long, long time since I've been there. But I liked Tangier when I was
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I
I
like it
remember. And
because I'm not
yeah.
from Tangier. I'm from the middle of Morocco, but I'm here just for work.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay. Very good, very good. And I remember going to a cafe in Tangier. There was lots of cafes. Really
A
nice
lot of, yeah,
cafe. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
There was
and they will invite
there
you
was a
to
there's
visit
the Cafe Central, isn't there? There's a Cafe Central right in the middle of the market, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I remember. And when I
they
was in
will.
Morocco,
I will invite you to visit it next time.
I would love to go back. I really loved
Yeah,
I really loved Morocco.
because it's different now. It's more developed and other things.
Uh, yeah. When I was there, the last time I was there, they told me that they had just, for the first time, allowed women into the cafes or into that cafe. Before
Yeah,
that, it was all men. This was in, yeah, 2000. They said this was the first time that women were allowed in the cafes, or at least in that big one. I don't know. So it seemed like things were changing. And I was there during Ramadan as well.
well,
So yeah, I arrived in the middle of Ramadan, and
Ramadan. Yeah, Ramadan.
yeah, it was in January of 2000, right in the middle of Ramadan.
Ramadan. People are fast.
That's right.
Yeah,
And yes, and then at night it was sort of like there was lots and lots and lots of people on the street at night. I remember.
yeah, and they come back from the mosque.
Yeah, yeah. And I have something from Tangier somewhere. I don't know where my hat is. I was going to show you. I'll show you something in a minute. I'll
Okay.
show you something that I got there. Uh, I don't know where it is. I'll look for it. Okay, so let's get back to our reading. We're going to. I want you to think about a few things as you read. So it says, while you read, look there on the page. While you read, I want you to think about these two characters. Edgar Allan Poe is writing a satire. That means it's not a serious story. So his characters have funny names. The first character is called Touch and Go Bullethead, or TB. And the second character is named John Smith. That's a normal name. So
Okay.
as you read, I want you to tick off or write on this list or notice which character does these things. Move from east to west, live in the West for many years, have an office opposite the Daily News, edit the Daily News, criticize articles, etc. So we're going to go back to this at the end and see how many of these things you can remember from which character. All right. Hey, by the way, can you
Okay.
see the video? Can you see my face right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Look at this. This is what I got when I was there. Do you see this?
Great.
I can't remember the name of the place, but this is a raw silk hat that was made in Tangier, uh,
Yeah.
and like I went there one day and they told me to come back the next day to get it, and it's my favorite thing in the world. I had two, and my neighbor's dog ate one, so one of them disappeared. One of them was given to me by a guy on the street. He said, "Here, take my hat." This one I bought though. Anyway, that's what I have from Tangier.
And
All right, let's say a quick hello to Ksenia. Hello, Ksenia. What a
Hello.
surprise! I didn't expect
Yes.
to see you here. Ksenia, guess what we're going to do? We're going to do a little bit of reading. Are you ready for some reading?
Yes, of course.
I want you to say that, but I want you to sound excited. Say, yeah, of course.
Yes, of course.
Very good, very good. Ksenia, we're going to read a short story, very short story, by Edgar Allan Poe. Do you know that author, Edgar Allan Poe?
Yes.
What do you associate with Edgar Allan Poe? Horror or comedy?
I think it's a comedy.
Really? Most people would say horror because he's known for these really dark stories. Today, we're going to read a comedy. In fact, it's pretty much his only comedy, pretty much the only one he's written, and it's not bad. One last thing. Earlier, I was talking with Mr. Abdul, and we decided earlier that there's one important point you need to know before you read, Ksenia, which is this. In the old days, there were no printers, right? Printers are a modern invention. So, to print a newspaper, you had to use what we call movable type. That means that you had to place individual words or individual letters to print a newspaper. You had to physically move around little metal bars with the words on them. Movable type. Okay? It's very important because if you don't know that, the story will not be clear. Just so that's clear. Okay? So, movable type. You know what that is? Is that clear now?
Yes.
More or less? Yeah. Okay. Very good. So let's get started. And give me a second here. Uh-oh, sorry. Let's get started on page 3. Okay? And welcome to class, Anna Carolina. I just saw you pop in right now. Nice to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, teacher. Thank you.
You just woke up, right?
No, I woke up, I took a shower. I am ready to go working after your class. To go to working after your class.
Okay. Because the last time you said I just woke up, so I thought maybe you woke up now. Okay, let's get started. This is the only, as far as I know, the one and only funny story by Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, the great macabre writer and short story writer. Okay, Mr. Abdul, why don't you start us off with the first 2 paragraphs? And if you need to see this, if you're having trouble seeing it, then here is the link so you can open it up in your computer. Okay?
Okay.
If I make it big, it's going to look the same because this. Oh, yeah, there you go. It's a little bit better. Yeah, I made it a little bit bigger. Okay, take it away, Abdul.
Okay. As it well. As it well.
As
Know
it
that.
is well. As it is well.
As it is well. Know that the wasteman in the bill came from the east, and as the Mr. Tush and Go, Boiled Head come from the east. Mr. Boiled Head was therefore a west man, and if further proof
Good.
of the matter is needed. Here we have it. Mr. B was an editor, and a bad temper was his only weakness. He did not consider his inability and ever to change his mind. A weakness was he firmly believed his strong point.
Good. Listen to the pronunciation and repeat. Wise man. Wise man.
Wise
Repeat.
man.
Good.
Wise man.
Very good. Next word. Bible. Bible.
Bible.
Good. Perfect. And the guy's name, remember, this is a satire. People have strange names in this story. The guy's name is Mr. Touch and Go. Touch and Go. Repeat. Touch and Go.
Touch and go.
Very good. If you're touch and go, it kind of means, let me ask the class, have you heard that expression, touch and go? It's a touch and go situation. Does that ring a bell with anyone?
Nothing special.
Nothing special. Does that mean it's nothing special, or does that mean you don't know what it means? I didn't understand, Ksenia.
I think it's touch and go. It's just easy to overcome. It's nothing special.
I wonder if it's easy, because it seems to me that touch and go, it's not an expression that you hear a lot these days, but it seems to me that it means that you have to, it's like wait and see or something, that you're not sure how it's going to turn out. It's a touch and go situation. You're not exactly sure what the result is going to be. It's not an expression you hear so much every day, so I haven't heard it in a long time. But I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. You're not sure the result. Okay? So, and bullet head, well, That's not a very flattering sounding name. So what kind of character do you think this guy is? If his satirical name is Touch and Go Bullet Head, does he seem like a reasonable person to you? Does he seem like an unreasonable person? What happens if you shoot a bullet? What happens when the bullet hits something? What's inside of a bullet? What does a bullet contain inside of it, class? Hello? This is a conceptual question. What does a bullet have inside of it?
Gunpowder.
Precisely. And if you heat gunpowder, it explodes, right? So, what does that tell you about this character? Is he a calm person? What do you think?
Bad-tempered person.
Exactly. He's likely to explode like a bullet. So that's probably what Edgar Allan Poe is getting at with this crazy name. All right. Bad temper. All right. So we lost Abdul. Ksenia, next one. Take it away.
I have shown that Touch and Go Bullet Head was a wise man, and the only occasion on which he was not wise was when leaving the proper home for all wise men. The East he moved to the city of Alexander the Great or Annapolis, or some place of similar name out west.
What country do you think we're in, Ksenia? If you had to make a guess.
Minneapolis? I don't know. What country? America? USA?
Yeah, I think it's America. So think about this for a second. Edgar Allan Poe wrote in the 1800s. Why were people going to the West in the mid-1800s? What were they looking for?
Gold.
Exactly. So he's got this fictional town called Alexander the Great Annapolis, just like Minneapolis or Annapolis, Maryland. So sounds like something special is going to happen. Okay, keep going, Ksenia. Next one. Keep going.
But I must be fair and say that when he made up his mind finally to settle in the town, he thought that no newspaper and therefore no editor existed in that particular part of the country. When he started the newspaper, which he called the Teapot, he expected to have no competition. I feel sure that he would never have thought of going to live in Alexander the Great Annapolis if he had known that. In Alexander the Great Annapolis there lived a gentleman named John Smith, if I rightly remember, who for many years had quietly grown fat editing the Alexander the Great Annapolis Daily News. It was only therefore because he was not told about John Smith that Mr. Bullet had found himself in Alex. Suppose we call it Annapolis for short. But as he did find himself there, and rather than admit to a mistake, he decided to remain.
Let's stop there just for a second. What does that mean? John Smith had quietly grown fat editing the Alexander the Great Annapolis Daily News. What do you think that expression means? He had quietly grown fat.
Maybe he became successful.
Exactly. Very good. If you're successful, you can afford to eat lots of food. We have an expression in English, fat cats. Fat cats are people who are successful, probably corrupt, and they're greedy. So maybe that's what he's trying to say. Okay, very good, very good. By the way, one word about pronunciation. The word bullet. Bullet.
Bullet.
That's right. Ooh, bullet. Very good,
Bullet.
very good. Excellent. Okay, Anna Carolina, starting from So He Did Remain.
So, oh my gosh, I'm lost.
Can you see where we are? We're at the bottom of 3. So He Did Remain. I can't point to it.
Okay. Yeah. So he did remain, and he did more. He got out his printing press rented an office exactly opposite that of the Daily News, and the third morning after his arrival saw the appearance of the first number of the Nopolis Teapot, as
Oops, sorry.
nearly
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
nearly as I can remember. This was the same of the newspaper. The leading article, I must admit, was excellent and very severe. It was especially bitter about things in general. And as for the editor of the Daily News, he was cruelly criticized. Some of Bullethead's remarks were even so strong that I am astonished that John Smith managed to live through the experience. I cannot hope to give all the Teapot's words exactly, but one paragraph goes like this. Oh yes, oh we can see, oh no doubt. The editor opposite is such a clever man. Oh dear, oh goodness, what is the word coming to?
One thing about pronunciation here. Repeat this word for me. Criticized.
Criticized.
Okay, good. And I think that was it. Criticized. So, let's just be clear what's going on. What unusual thing did Mr. B, we'll call him Mr. B for short, what unusual thing did he do when he moved out west? Maybe not such a good business move. First of all, what is his job? What does he do for a living? Mr. B, Mr. Bullethead, what does he do? Clear or not clear?
He writes for the newspaper.
More than that, he's the editor of the newspaper. He's the editor. That's like basically the boss. He's the editor. He does write too. Yes, you're right. He's the editor. And did he expect there to be a newspaper out in the Wild West before he moved there? Did he expect any competition?
No.
No, he did not. And where did he set up shop? Good expression for you, to set up shop. Look at this expression, set up shop. Shop means where did he establish his business? Where did he establish his business? I don't mean what part of the country. I mean how close to the other newspaper, the Daily News, how close was he? Do you know? Ksenia, do you know?
No.
Let's
I think
go back.
in the same city.
Yeah, in the same city, and let's go back and take a look. Go back to the previous page. Let's take a look.
Opposite, exactly.
Yeah! He got out his printing press and rented an office exactly opposite that of the Daily News. Now picture this for a second. We're in the Wild West with cowboys and gold prospecting. There's nothing out there. There's no electricity. There's probably not even trains, or they're just beginning to have trains. There's not even railroads yet. And there's two newspapers in this tiny little town on the frontier. And they're next door to each other. So think about that for a second. Okay. In this next section, let me just read this little blurb here so we can capture the spirit of what he's trying to say. An article as bitter and well-formed as this exploded like a bomb among the peaceful citizens of Annapolis. Groups of excited people met to discuss it on the street corners. Everyone waited nervously for John Smith's reply. The next morning, it appeared in the Daily News as follows. In the teapot of yesterday, we find the words, "Oh yes, oh we can see, oh no doubt, oh dear, oh goodness. Why the man is all oh. That explains why he reasons in a circle. Ah, he's insulting him. And why there is neither beginning nor end to him, nor anything else he says. We really do not believe the man can write a word that hasn't an O in it. We wonder if this owing is a habit of his. He came from the East in a great hurry. We wonder if he owes as much there as he does here. Oh, it is painful. So the idea is, because he uses O's, he thinks in a circle. That means that he's not logical. Ksenia, take it away with I shall.
1 second. I
Bottom
shall
of-
not. Yes.
Yep,
I
go for it.
shall not attempt to describe the anger of Mr. Bullethead.
Ooh,
Oh my
yeah.
God, Bullethead at
Good.
these shocking suggestions. He didn't seem to be as angry at the attack of his honesty as one would have imagined. It was the attack on his style that upset him. What? He touch and go Bullethead, not able to write a word without an oar in it? He would soon show Smith that he was mistaken. Yes, he would let Mr. John Smith see that he, Bullethead, could write a whole paragraph, even a whole article, in which that unfortunate vowel didn't once appear. But no, that would be doing just that John Smith wanted. He, Bullethead, would make no change in his style for the satisfaction for Mr. Smith in the world. The oar forever. He would keep the oar, he would use oar, but never, whenever he liked.
So he considers not using the letter O as revenge. By the way, what does it mean to owe something? Like to owe money?
0.
What's that? Say again?
0.
What do you mean 0? Maybe you're right, but what do you mean? Tell me more.
It's nothing. 0, it's like O. I don't know how to say. It's no money. It's no maybe. It's
What? If we say O, we could also mean 0. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. And to O, like this in the chat window. To O.
It's 20. No.
I don't understand. Look in the chat window. Look in the chat.
Okay. It's a verb.
Yeah, I don't mean 2-0. I mean the infinitive to owe, like to owe money.
Yes.
So, what does he get accused of? Let's be clear about this. What does John Smith accuse him of? Playing on the joke, playing the game. The pun is he's using the word O, using the sound O. So the pun is he says maybe he owes something in the East. Let's take a quick look. We wonder if he owes as much there as he does here. So, what's John Smith saying about him?
Maybe he's in debt.
Yeah, maybe he's running away from something. Maybe he owes money and he's running away, and that's why he's here in the West. Actually, that's probably why most people were there in the West.
But I think it's he mean it's like a 0. He is nothing, like a person, like an editor.
Yeah, he could be saying that too. Sure, he keeps playing because there's a pun, right? There's a pun.
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh goodness. He's got all these O's. He thinks in a circle. He owes money. So, and he could be a 0, but we probably would say 0 if he meant he's a 0. Hard to say, but could be. That he ends with, "Oh, it is pitiful." Okay, so Anna Carolina, let's pick it up on the top of page 5 with burning.
Okay. Burning with this determination, the great touch and go in the next teapot came out with this simple paragraph. The editor of the teapot has the honor of advising the editor of the Daily News that he will take an opportunity in tomorrow morning's paper of proving to him the daily news, that he, the teapot, both can and will be his own
Master.
his own master in his written style. He will write for the particular satisfaction of him a leading article of some length in which the beautiful letter O
The,
shall
be-
most
the
certainly
beautiful wait, the beautiful letter O. Let's
ah
just
my gosh in which the beautiful letter O shall most certainly not be avoided by his the daily news most obedient servant the teapot.
So he's picking up the challenge of John Smith. It sounds like he's taking things very personally. By the way, how would you describe the style of his editorial? Does it seem formal, informal? Well, let's start there. Formal or informal?
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know.
Well, is this how you would talk to a friend?
Mm, I don't know.
Well, is this how you would speak to someone? The way this paragraph is written? Does he use the first person, the second person, the third person? Hello? Anyone?
No, it's informal.
Informal. Why do you say that?
Because a lot of O, and I don't know, it's in this way only informal things can be
Informal.
written. Yes.
I would disagree with you here. I would say it's a bit formal. I would say it's excessively formal. Here's why. Let me show you why. By the way, I want to point this out because the comedy makes a lot more sense if you picture what's really going on. These are two editors writing to each other in place when they live next door to each other, and the tone is like too formal, too much. The editor of the Teapot has the honor of advising the editor of the Daily News. Why doesn't he just call him John Smith, right? Why doesn't he just say Mr. Smith? Because he's trying to be, way too formal and too, I don't know, trying to sound too important, something like that. So he uses the third person, and he refers to him by this title, the editor of the Daily News. He will take. So I'm only referring to that paragraph, not the whole story. I just mean that paragraph. He's writing is excessively formal to try to sound like this is a really important thing. That he, the Teapot, can and will be the master of his own written style, right? It's always he and him, and then with a clarification. So excessively formal, trying too hard to clarify things, it sounds kind of silly. So, sorry to interrupt. Anna Carolina, want to keep going?
Okay. To carry out this terrible threat which he had made, the great bullet had sat up all night, burning the midnight lamp oil, and busy with the really unequaled paragraph which follows. So, ho, John, told you so, Don't shout another time before you're out of the woods. Does your mother know you're out? Oh, no, no. So go home at once now, John, to your old woods. Go home to your woods, go. You won't? Oh,
Poo-poo.
poo-poo, Joe. Don't do so. You've gotta go. You've gotta go. You know. So go at once, and don't go slow, for nobody owns you here. You know, you're only a cow, a poor, good-for-nothing to nobody dog. Don't complain so, you fool. Oh, John, how do you look? Told you so, you know. Go and drown your sorrows in a bowl.
Hmm. Did you notice a particular letter being used in almost all the words of that paragraph? What's his revenge? What's his revenge the next day? Mr. Bullethead does what? Is that clear? What's he doing? He's being... Nowadays we call this... He's being a smart aleck. So what's his revenge? Is that clear, everyone? Can anyone hear me?
I think it's just rude.
Not just rude. Not just rude. Not just rude. Every single word in that paragraph, almost every word, has which letter?
O.
The letter
Mainly
O.
O. Yeah.
Yes. So he's going to get his revenge. He's going to be a smart aleck. He's going to write an editorial with the letter O in every single word, just to show him that you're not going to tell me that I can use the O. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm the master of my whatever he said. I don't know. That's it. So he sounds like a very mature person, doesn't he, Ksenia? Very, very mature. Ksenia, take it away with Tired Out.
Tired out, of course, by so wonderful a piece of work, the great touch and go could do nothing more that night. He handed his article to the printer's boy who was waiting, and walked slowly home to bed. The printer's boy, to whom the article was trusted, ran upstairs in a great hurry, and prepared to set the article in print. First, of course, as the opening word was "so," he looked for and found a capital S. Pleased with the success, he immediately threw himself in the box where the little oars were kept. But who can describe his feeling of horror when his fingers came out of it without a letter in them? Who can tell of his astonishment and anger when he realized that the little box was completely empty? Not a single little oar was in the little O box, and looking fearfully at the capital O box, he found that in exactly the same state empty. He ran to his master. "Sir," said he, breathlessly,
Breathlessly.
"I
Good.
can set up nothing without no O's."
And you got to picture the level of education here. He's not speaking very good English. I can't set up nothing without no O's. Right? What do you mean by that? Said the chief, who was very angry at being kept from his bed so late. Okay? And Carolina, take it away. Well, sir, let's find out what happens.
My gosh, where?
Right in the middle. Well, sir.
Well, sir, there isn't an O in the office, neither a big one nor a little one. What has happened to all those that were in the box? I don't know, sir, said the boy, but one of those daily news people has been wandering about here, and I expect he's taken everyone. I haven't a doubt of it, replied the chief angrily, turning purple in the face with anger. But I tell you what to do, Bob. That's a good boy. You will go over to the Daily News the first chance you get and take every one of their eyes. Right, replied Bob. I will go. I will show them a thing or two. But what about the paragraph? It must go in tonight, you know. If not, there will be trouble. Trouble. Trouble enough. Is it a long paragraph, Bob? I shouldn't call it a very long paragraph. Well then, do the best you can with it. We must get it ready, said the chief, who was buried in work. Just put in some other letter for O, Nobody's going to read the man's nonsense in any case.
Okay. So, what's going on here? There's a lot of stuff going on here. Let's make sure it's clear. He finds out there's no O's, and what happens after that? Is that 100% clear, everyone?
Yes, he said just put another word.
Yeah. Another letter.
Oh, yes, letter. Another letter.
All right. So, let's see. I think we can finish this on time. Yeah, I think we can do it. Ksenia, keep going. Let's find out what happens at the very bottom of 6. He says, I should call it a very long, do the bit. So we'll start with very well. Yeah.
Very well, replied Bob. Here I go. And off he hurried. So I have to put the other eyes, do I? The fact is that, although Bob was only 12 years old and 4 feet high, he was always ready for a fight. The difficulty described here happens quite frequently in printing offices, and I cannot explain it. But the fact is certain that when the difficulty does come up, it almost always happens with the letter X. X is used instead of the letter which is missing. The true reason, perhaps, is that X is the most painful letter in the boxes, or it was so in all times, long enough to make the use of it habit with printers. Bob would have, though is it quite wrong to use...
Bob would have thought.
Bob would have thought it quite wrong to use any letter than the X. I shall have to wreck this paragraph, he said to himself as he read it over in astonishment, but it's just about the worst paragraph of ours that I've ever seen. So he did X the paragraph, and that is how it was printed. Next morning, the population of Naples were all astonished to read the tip of the following leading article.
Let me try to read this for you. It's supposed to be so... I can't even read it anyway.
Yes, it's very difficult.
I forgot what the H is for. So-ho? John told you so? So you can see what happened to his paragraph. All right. The confusion caused by this strange article cannot be imagined. The first idea in the minds of the population was that some devilish trick was hidden by the signs, and there was a general rush to Bullethead's house for the purpose of punishing him as he deserved. But the gentleman was nowhere to be found. He had disappeared. No one could tell how. Not even his shadow has ever been seen since. And Carolina, let's see if we can finish it up. The top.
Unable to find him, people's anger died down at last, but there remained quite a variety of opinions about this unhappy affair. One gentleman thought the whole thing an excellent joke.
Excellent.
Excellent. Oh, yes, excellent joke. Another could only suppose that Polity had decided to express his anger in the most imaginative way that he could.
Imaginative.
Imaginative, thank you. In the most imaginative way that he could. And to set an example to our children, suggested another. It was clear to all that Bulletin had been driven to extreme action, and in fact, since that the editor could not be found, there was some talk of punishing the other one. The more common feeling, though, was that the affair was simply impossible to explain. Nobody could understand what had happened. The opinion of Bobby, the printer's boy, who said nothing about having X'd the paragraph, did not receive as much attention as I think it deserved. He said that he had no doubt about the matter at all, that it was a clear case that Mr. Bullet had never could be persuaded to drink like other people, but to drink beer all the time, which filled him with wind and make him X in the extreme.
X in the extreme. And there you go. And that is the story of our Mr. Bullethead. And you don't have to do this. You're supposed to act out conversations, but you don't have to act it out. That was just, there you go. What do you think about this 150-year-old story? Do you think it holds up after 150 years? Is it still funny after 150 years? I think it's not bad. What do you think?
Yes, I think it's
John,
cool.
It's not bad. Anna Carolina, what were you saying?
I I was going to say that today I couldn't understand it very well. I don't know if I am half asleep or what's the problem.
Just some game with
Well, I'll tell
letters.
you what.
He dropped.
Okay. Yes, I think we should end the class or wait for him.
Well, the time is over.
Yes, I think he couldn't join because class finished.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, bye, Anna.
Bye.
Bye.